Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. I had to put this very quick video together simply to stop people from sending me the same link over and over again. So there's a video being making the rounds by a guy called Mike Mozart, and it's called Be a Hero and Help Stop SOPA Now. I Know How. So it's a fairly sensationalist title to begin with, but I do want to talk very briefly about it because in my opinion it's not a good video. And if anything, it may divert people from the actual message and what we really should be campaigning over and speaking about, with a lot of fairly pointless details, finger-wagging, and gotcha moments. This is something that is very, very common in politics these days, unfortunately, and particularly prevalent in the States, and that's simply a fact. The gotcha moment, the idea that catching somebody out and getting them in a trap is the best thing in the world, and in reality it kind of isn't. So I'm just going to read out what I posted on Facebook about this, because, like I said, I don't think this is a good video that we really should be promoting all that much, and while I don't think my video is the best in the world either, there are plenty of other SOPA videos that are certainly very valid indeed, and honestly, I think the priority right now should be educating people as to what SOPA actually is, because you might think, oh, well, everyone knows now. No, they don't. And for God's sake, yes, the video got linked by Ashton Kutcher today. He's got like 8 million Twitter followers or something absurd like that. That's a big deal, and that's a really good thing for Ashton to do, so thank you very much for that. And I know that he's very politically active and has also written a blog on the subject of SOPA, which is well worth a read, I might add. Link is in the description below this video if you want to educate yourself further. But the fact of the matter is that video has only been seen by 1.7 million people. And you might think, well, that's tons. There's over 300 million people in America. There's over 65 million people in the UK. There's a lot of damn people that need to know about this legislation that don't. At the minute, we're just preaching to the choir. What needs to happen is for people that are outside of the regular internet circles, people outside of Reddit, people outside of the guys that read all of the tech sites, people outside of the gaming community, they need to know about this, and they need to be able to talk to their representative about it and express their concerns. And that's the way that things will actually get done. Now, the video in question is, as I said, by this Mike Mozart guy, and he basically reveals a set of well-researched information. And don't get me wrong, it is well-researched. There's a lot of information he's got there. Unfortunately, the focus of the video really is on little more than trying to prove how hypocritical the companies behind SOPA actually are. Here's the thing, we kind of already knew this, and politicians certainly know it as well, because they live in a world of hypocrites. This guy does not actually know how to stop SOPA. This is not the secret weapon. This is not the ace in the hole we've been looking for. It's not going to bring these companies to their knees. You got to understand that big corporations live in a perpetual state of hypocrisy. That's not a gotcha for them. I mean, come on. Really? You suddenly think that big corporations are going to fold up and die because you proved that they did something hypocritical? Hypocrisy is the very air that they breathe. It's a perpetual state of being for them. The problem I've got as well is that the video in question is fairly smug and, to be honest, rather obnoxious. It's most certainly not neutral, and it's not particularly objective either. It does seem to be agenda-driven, and there's a massive focus on CNET and their partners, for instance, which doesn't even come close to covering all of the companies that are actually focusing and supporting SOPA. I mean, there's not a single mention of GoDaddy, who has come up in the news lately as one of the biggest supporters of SOPA, and there is an active boycott going on against them at this very moment. So I have to wonder if this guy does actually have an agenda of some description beyond simply stopping the SOPA Act. The problem is the guy's actually missed what's really important, and that's informing people as to why this bill is actually bad. And by people, I'm talking about the general voting population and the representatives that can actually do something about it. We get it. The companies profited from piracy. A lot of companies have profited by piracy. This is not much of a revelation, really. It's been known for a fairly long time. This is not new information. This isn't going to convince a politician any more than convincing a pig that rolls in muck every day that this particular brand of muck is disgusting. You've got to understand this kind of shady nonsense happens all the time in American politics and American corporate culture. Of course, it's not exclusive to America, but America does have the largest lobbyist culture and the most money in politics of any country in the world, and that's a simple fact. What matters isn't what these companies have done in the past. These companies have done a lot of bad things. I quoted a few of them just to prove a point, but I didn't spend more than 30 or 40 seconds on that point, because in reality, that's not what we actually should be focusing on. It's very easy to dig through a company's past and find a bunch of very murky dealings or outright bad things that they've done. This is extremely commonplace. I would have thought by now that people would assume by default that big corporations have been guilty of a wide variety of different things, including, of course, hypocrisies. The consequences of the bill are dire, so it's not what these companies have done in the past that really matters. It's not about playing Spot the Conspiracy. This is not a game. It's about the future of the internet and freedom of information, and shouting from the rooftops, "I've got a secret," like you're 7 years old, doesn't really help anybody, unfortunately. I understand that's one way to deliver the message, but I have to say that I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to end up being put off if they watch a video by someone who appears to be 35 plus years old acting like a toddler. That's not exactly an ideal way to present our cause, is it? It makes us look a little bit too wingnutty for my personal tastes. Oh, maybe it's just me. Maybe the Americans actually respond well to this kind of thing. And the video's got a lot of good support behind it. And I'm not saying the guy is wrong. He's not. His research is absolutely solid. He has done a ton of work here. The problem is that I just feel like he's attacking this from the wrong angle, as are people that are getting behind this and saying this is some kind of secret weapon. It's not. You really don't want to be taken in by that. Thing is, this muddles the message. This is a lot of actually fairly irrelevant information to the point at hand. The message should be loud and clear. SOPA is bad because of A, B, and C. D, E, and F will happen if SOPA passes, which prevents G, H, and I. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, and the more complex the issue gets, the less people will actually care about it. And if you want people to care about it, you've got to actually explain to people why they should care about it. This does not explain to people why they should care about it. The average person watching Mr. Mozart's video is not going to care about SOPA just because of a few hypocrisies that have been pointed out here and there. It's amusing, and it's really interesting information, don't get me wrong. And that's potentially the kind of thing that could be useful further down the line. But at the moment, we're actually fighting to stop this thing from even getting passed. Politicians are not going to care about this information because this is extremely common when it comes to corporate dealings and lobbying. And honestly, if the amount of lobbyist money has actually gone into this bill that we believe that it has, I find that this information would honestly do precisely jack in order to sway the opinion. What will sway the opinion is popular opinion. I have to say, for this campaign to work, and, of course, to follow this up, by the way, I need to keep reminding you of this, with the destruction of the PIPA Act as well, Protect IP. Do not let that slide in under the door, because we've all got all up in arms over SOPA, because it's fairly obvious what's actually going on here. They're trying to slip that one through the door on the back of SOPA being too extreme by tuning an act which is slightly less extreme and more likely to pass. You have to understand this. You have to stay on message. Focus on what the bill actually does and not what the companies supporting it have done. These companies are incapable of embarrassment, and discredit them by saying, "Oh, but they did naughty things too," is not a strong argument. SOPA is bad because it has the potential to cripple future innovation, strangle existing channels of freedom of expression, severely damage the competitive marketplace, and give sweeping powers to people who absolutely cannot be trusted with them to censor and destroy for the benefit of their shareholders. It doesn't need to get any more complicated than that. As many smart people have said in the past, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So while I do applaud the work, and obviously there's a lot of work that's actually gone into this, I don't really feel that it's a good video to be putting out to the masses. I don't really think that it appeals to a wide audience. I don't think it presents our cause in a particularly good light. It's not a particularly rational video, regardless of the fact that, yes, it is littered with true facts, and it's obviously well researched, and the guy clearly knows what he's talking about. And I've got to say one more thing. This might sound very, very harsh, but causes are driven by personalities, and they're also driven by marketing. We have to be able to market ourselves. Now, what's more marketable? A guy calmly explaining why exactly this is a bad thing, or a guy who gets on camera in a flat cap with a beard and starts his video by saying, "Ooh, I've got a secret," and appears to be on the verge of laughing all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the fact that the guy's actually putting in work here. All supporters are valuable. There's no real doubt about that, and please do not look to me as a figurehead. I'm not. I'm just a guy trying to help out. I made a video and it got popular. Okay, cool. Hopefully it's helpful to the cause. But at the end of the day, we do have to be very careful with how we present ourselves, because it's very easy to discredit and dismiss movements simply because of the actions of a few being seen as immature, off the wall, and wingnut, which is the word that I want to use there. And that video is a little bit too close to wingnut, in my opinion. And I'd like people to try and stay as calm, collected, and objective as possible, because that is the way that you debate, and that is the way that you win arguments in an adult forum when it comes to political discussion. And you might think that, well, there's plenty of evidence to indicate that that is not the case, but I firmly believe that that will actually work. I have to believe it, because if I don't, well, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Simple as that. My name's been Totalbiscuit. Thank you for listening, and have a great Christmas. I'll see you next time.